Well, Holly, before we get into the program, it's time for this week's Joke of the Week.
Yes. So why couldn't the flower ride a bike?
I'm going to say something to do with its petals? Something to do with the pedal?
Because he lost his petals.
That's sad.
It is sad. This week's garden joke is brought to you by Rescue.com. American-made rescue products keep your family, home, and yard protected from pests like insects, wasps, hornets, yellow jackets, flies, ants, and more. Learn more at Rescue.com. That's RESCUE.com. So we're going to talk about some diseases.
Common plant diseases you'll face in your vegetable garden, or you'll see in your vegetable garden. We do common because we could go down a rabbit hole of a 2-hour program and get into some things that are very devastating to your garden, but may not be the most realistic in your particular area. So these are more of a generalization of, we've got people listening from Denver to Maine and anywhere in between. So we're going to kind of go over some of these here.
Now, these are ones that are going to be within the more northern, not more northern, but like...
Well, anybody can face these
these. But if you do have a garden problem, I would highly suggest looking for University Extension answer. I mean, obviously you can reach out to us as well, but if you do have a garden pest problem, please send a picture. But yeah, so you want to check at the University Extensions because they have
this is what they do.
Yeah. So the first
we can direct you in that way, but they can say, oh yeah, in this area, in your county, this is what we've seen in the last 5 to 10 years, and here's the time in which it's been coming through.
Yeah, and they're going to tell you how to deal with it, and then also how to prevent it in the future. So the first one, we talk about this, I don't know, quite frequently, I'd say, is powdery mildew, because it is a common problem, disease. And it's just a result of cool evenings, cool nights, but warmth during the day with high humidity.
Or moisture, gathering on the leaves, whether by nature or by you. And when you add water in those conditions, mildew is going to exist, like your bathroom type of situation. You're going to have mildew developing. The mildew on these plants, it looks like baby powder. You touch it, you're going to get powder on it. It is suffocating the plant and preventing photosynthesis on the plant. So if you do see it, there are many ways in which you can slow it down online that are natural. You can also remove leaves up to 25% of the plant in order to rid it from your plant if you do see it. And if you do that, cutting it off the plant by removing limbs or leaves, put them in a bag prior to taking them out of your garden, because these are spores that will fall on other things. This is prominent in spaghetti, in squashes, in watermelons, beans, grapes, cucumbers are all susceptible to powdery mildew.
Right. Yeah. So you want to look out for it, and then as soon as you see it, you want to do something about it. And sometimes it's only one plant.
Yes.
Yeah. So then we have tomato blossom end rot. Now, this is technically not a disease, but it was on a lot of the common disease list because it looks like a disease. And it's when you go to pick your first tomatoes of the season, you have this beautiful tomato, and then you look at the bottom end, which is the blossom end, and it's all black and brown and kind of gross looking.
Well, real quick on the powdery mildew, you want to make sure you can identify it, because there is difference between powdery mildew and downy mildew, and they're fungal diseases, so not always one is resolved by the same methods as the previous.
Good point. Yeah, so anyway, so blossom end rot is a result of a lack of access to calcium for the plant from your soil. There's a common myth that you can fix it with Epsom salt. That's not true. What happens to most people is you plant your tomatoes in end of May, early June, and we usually have some rain. Most climates have some rain. And then by the time your plant is fruiting, there's not so much rain in the season, and the plants don't have access to the calcium in the soil. So then you add something to the soil and you water it in, and it gets rid of the problem. And you think, oh, it's because I added XYZ to the soil. And that's not true. It's because you watered the plants and the water got access to the calcium again.
People get so mad when you point that out. That you water. They'll say, "Oh, I added tums," and well, you got to add 80 tums if you got a calcium deficiency. Well, it fixed the problem. I said, I'm assuming that regardless of whatever you shove down that hole of the tomato plant or put around it, you probably watered. They really get mad when you say you probably did water it, and that's really what's fixing the issue.
Right. So the next one is leaf spots. Leaf spots are a common issue amongst a lot of plants, but the most common one is early blight. And it's because there's good things and bad things in your soil. There's bacteria in your soil. There's also, microorganisms, whatever. So early blight is a result of the water splashing up onto the leaves of the plant, and then that blight is getting onto the plant, and it just becomes a growing, no pun intended, problem. So what you can do is you can use something that is an easy home remedy. And when you plant your tomato plants, you can, around the base of the plant, you just take a handful of yellow whole grain cornmeal. That's yellow whole grain cornmeal. And that has something in it called trichoderma, which is a beneficial fungi, and it helps prevent that early blight. Then you also want to mulch around the plant with whatever your favorite mulch is. And also you want to trim the bottom portion leaves of the plant and keep trimming them.
6 to 8 inches off the ground level, and any of the canopy that has the potential of soil splashing up on it. In addition to, that's why the mulch is there, to prevent or add a barrier. Corn smut. Let's look at corn smut, because this is if you're not familiar with what it is, it can just be disturbing to see it on your sweet corn.
It is. It's like this gray, weird fungus, but it's like...
looks like a giant, weird mushroom coming out of the ear of the corn.
Yeah, it's kind of fluffy looking. Yeah. And in some Mexican cultures, it is a delicacy. They fry it or boil it. So it is it's edible, I guess, if you know how to cook it. I don't know if you would eat it raw, but it's a fungus. So, and it's pretty common, but there's now disease-resistant varieties, and so there's a lot of disease-resistant varieties, and planting one of those, growing one of those is going to be the solution. Also, just making sure your corn is spaced apart properly and not jamming it too close to each other, because that does allow for fungus to grow. And
rotate your crops, because it can sit in the soil and overwinter. Some people will say it's also because if you have a high level of nitrogen in your soil, that can be an issue if you've over-fertilized in some issues, but that's not necessarily the correct answer for that. But if you've had issues with your sweet corn, look up what corn smut is, M-U-T, and then you'll probably go, oh yeah, I had that. We got time for another one here.
So then we have, it's,
Number 4.
Anthracnose. It's sunken dark spots that can be caused by all sorts of species. It's a fungal disease, and it affects crops like pepper, bean, tomato, eggplant, cucumber, muskmelon, melons, pumpkins, squashes, and peas. And what it is like these little sunken black spots.
Kind of the reverse of a blackhead.
Yeah. And it's like a dark brown. And this is something that also lives in your soil, so it's recommended to...
Oh, that's soil.
I know. To mulch. And if you have any of these diseases, when you clean out your garden, you want to toss those plants. You don't want to put them in the compost. You want to put them in...
City pickup.
City pickup. You don't want to put them in your own compost. You want to put them in the trash. If you're afraid your trash person might see them, then put it in a black trash bag.
Yep. Hide it,
yeah. So, how to hide trash 101. Just kidding. So, anyway, that's for a different show. So you want, if you have this, the dark sunken spots, is probably that. So mulch prevents a lot of problems. So just as always, we would highly recommend mulching.
Now, as much as you may or may not like technology, smartphones, if you're not familiar with this, some of you may or may not, you can go to your Google thing on your phone, and there's a camera, and you can take a picture of the actual item, and it will do a Google search and list what it appears it may be. You can also do that with items if you're trying to buy and see if there's a good deal or how much is worth somewhere else of classic DVD or VHS. You can do that. So it's a really good piece of technology in which to get you in a general direction. It's not a fix-all. It's at least here's what it thinks it is, so you can start working down that, narrowing down what the disease or problem is in your garden.
Exactly. So with that being said, we are brought to you today by our sponsor, Walton's. We know you care about where your food comes from, canning, preserving, etc. At Walton's, they have everything you need to make any sort of meat product. You can find specials and sales online, and that's at waltonsinc.com. They also have meatgistics.com to help educate you on the hows and whys of meat processing, as well as a community of 15,000 users who will help give their opinion and guidance on meat processing issues. And they have decades of experience. So they have a full line of meat grinders, mixers, sausage stuffers, and more to help you go from animal to edible. Walton's everything but the meat. You can use code GROW50, that's GROW50, to save 10% off your order of $50 or more at waltonsinc.com.